Free agency matchmaker. Let's start with the guy most people are talking right now, Zach LaVine. If he stays put, he could get a max deal. But which way are you swiping on Zach LaVine here?
All right, I've got my Cupid bow out. This arrow is going to need to hit the bullseye because, as we've discussed, Amanda, this is a very unlikely scenario. But I think Zach LaVine can find true basketball love and maybe some championships to go with it in that fair city in Dallas, Texas. Now, we've discussed this. It would be very difficult to do, especially if it's a sign and trade with the Bulls, because that hard caps the Mavs. So Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr., other players are going to have to exit for this to happen. But I think that a Luka Doncic, Zach LaVine, Christian Wood triumvirate, those three guys are good enough to compete and win in a Western Conference that's already absolutely stacked. LaVine is a baller, and there's certainly some reason to suspect just his actions, the fact that he is not committed to the Bulls, that he's looking forward to free agency, talking to sources, that he may be open to playing somewhere else. We know that he wants to be a Los Angeles Laker. That's a near impossibility. Sometimes true love isn't with the person you actually want. As Garth Brooks once said, you have to sometimes thank God for unanswered prayers. Maybe LaVine belongs in this Cupid scenario. And I guess I'm Tinder here, right? With the Dallas Mavericks. I think that is the fit. If they can make it work, that's the best place for him.
Everything's bigger in Texas. Let's go to James Harden, who decided to decline his player option. The assumption you told us yesterday, he's looking at maybe a 2 to 4 year deal with the 76ers. So maybe be here like an old Italian grandma. Are you like, yes, this is it? Or no, you can do better?
I'll quote an old Italian grandma who once gave me this advice as a long married man. I know this is true. Happy wife, happy life is a very fancy way, Amanda, a rhyming way to say you got to put yourself second if you want the relationship to work out. So again, as the Tinder of this situation, I like James Harden where he already is, Philadelphia, and I like what everyone suspects is going to happen. Sources tell me will happen. He did not opt into that deal. He's going to take a lesser deal, lesser money, and lesser years to stay in Philadelphia. And he's going to be selfless, or at least a little more selfless than some other players like Kyrie Irving or Russell Westbrook. He's going to allow the financial flexibility for the Sixers to go out and get almost certainly PJ Tucker. They can get to about $10.5 million a year, and that will allow them to pry Tucker away from the Miami Heat to steal, not a game changer, but an important cog from a competitor in the Eastern Conference. It makes the Sixers better, and it means that James Harden gets to stay where he is with the one, he's not even a GM, he's the president of operations, but the one head of basketball operations in the NBA who still 100% believes in Harden. That's Daryl Morey. Happy family, happy wife, happy life, happy scenario. Harden needs to be in Philadelphia, and the fact that he's willing to do it for a little bit less money to make sure that it's a better and more stable and more talented squad, it works for everybody.
Maybe that says something about James Harden maturing over the years. Let's talk about Bradley Beal, also opting out. He is looking at a max deal if he does decide to stay with the Wizards. Now, in the video coming into you, we heard Avery Johnson say, I'd really like to see him with Miami, and you don't disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I love where Coach's head is at. I understand that there's a high degree of likelihood. It's not certainty yet, as I understand it, but it's very likely Bradley Beal will take the Supermax and stay in Washington, D.C. And I know that the betting favorite, if he leaves D.C., is to go to the Boston Celtics, which would be a blockbuster trade and involve a lot of pieces coming back to D.C. But I'm with Coach, Amanda. I think the Miami Heat are the right fit. It probably would require certainly Tyler Hero and draft picks. And I know there's some people around the NBA who think Bam Adebayo would have to go out. That's a pretty steep price for a sign and trade if that's what would happen. For Bradley Beal, who's such, I think, an underrated superstar. I mean, this guy is probably a top 10 or 12 player in the NBA. If he plays on a dynamic enough team where people are paying more attention, he gets more credit. He is maybe the best scorer in the game, not named Kevin Durant. He might be. And you see the graphic there, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the same level of ability to put the ball in the basket. He's a great team player. He's great in the locker room. The guy's a superstar and a really good dude. He'd fit into that Miami Heat culture in a real way. We saw that the Heat require more offense. They just do. They didn't have the firepower offensively. They're always going to be excellent defensively because that's what Eric Spoelstra teams do. It's what Pat Riley teams do. If Bradley Beal pulled open his NBA Tinder app and turned to me, I'm sending him to Miami, Florida.
Bill, do you know which swiping is good and which swiping is bad? Like left good, right bad, or whatever it is?
It's so funny you say that. No, that's why I'm not saying it, because I'm married. I'm not allowed to be on Tinder. And once a buddy of mine in a bar, just a few years ago, gave me his phone to do for him, and whatever way I'm supposed to swipe, I did it wrong, and now he's not my buddy anymore.
Okay,
So no, I actually don't know.
Whoever's in our control room, I think left is bad, right is good. I'm not sure. Okay,
Right.
so that's it. Left is bad, right is good. So we have Jalen Brunson because they need it for this specific situation. You got people who want to see him stay with the Mavs. You got people who want him to go to the Knicks. The Knicks are making a hard push. What team are you swiping left on? What team are you swiping right on?
So left is bad. Is that
Yes,
we've established? My wife watches these, Amanda, so I don't know, and I don't know, and I can't know. So for me, right, the problem with Tinder is sometimes you make decisions for the wrong reasons. It's not true love that people are seeking. It's other things that they're after. He should swipe left on the New York Knicks because they're the New York Knicks. I understand that you want money, and I understand that you want to be the focal point, but this is an organization that has proved itself adept at only one thing in the last 20 years, and that is mediocrity at best, and I don't know about destroying careers, but certainly not enhancing the careers of would-be superstars. I want Jalen Brunson to go anywhere but the New York Knicks, but I think he's gonna look at the Knicks, and he's almost certainly going to swipe right. And I've seen all the stats. I know the analytics. I know his efficiency. I know that he's protected the basketball. I get that he had a really great season. I'm just highly skeptical in a vacuum, Amanda, that the Knicks make sense. And if I'm the matchmaker, if he's my buddy sending me his phone and I see the Knicks, I am swiping left and making sure he never lays eyes on them again. But that's not the reality. I would have him stay in Dallas or go somewhere else. Even though, again, a place like Miami I think would be really interesting. But I think he's going to end up a New York Knick and make one of those mistakes that, as I understand it, not personal experience, many people have made on Tinder over the course of its existence.
He's got that filter on right now with the Knicks where you just don't really know what's going to look like behind the scenes. All right, look, here's the thing. Let's stay with the Knicks here for a second because they got to decide what they're going to do with Mitchell Robinson here. Play matchmaker here for him.
Yeah, so I think Mitchell Robinson probably goes somewhere else, in large part because it's an opportunity. He's not going to make massive money, but he's going to make pretty good money. You got to find an organization that's going to somewhat value that position. I like Charlotte. I think that's an organization that's going to need someone at that spot. He's fine, right? I think if he got more minutes, if he's in the right situation, he could be a guy that gets to double territory, 10 or 11 points a game, 9 or 10 rebounds per game. He's obviously extremely efficient because of the position he plays. He's a big man. He's a bit of a rim protector. And Charlotte's got some aspirations, but they're not going to spend massive amounts of money. This is an affordable option to improve a little bit, to get some length, to get some size. I like him in Charlotte.
Okay, Bobby Portis, he decided to opt out of his contract with the Bucks here, and the team you have, at least that I have in my rundown, where I'm sure a lot of dating apps go down in South Beach.
Yeah, the land of eternal love, right? I lived in Miami for a year, so I observed it.
I don't know if I'd go with eternal love. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I mean, we can define love in different ways. I guess I should say eternal socializing is probably the term that I should be using for this dating app. So Portis is an interesting fit because he's an interesting personality, and and I think it was my colleague Sam Quinn or maybe Colin Ward-Henniger, I should know which, they're both excellent, who coined militaristic culture the other day in a column at CBSSports.com, what Pat Riley runs, and it is. And I don't know if Bobby Portis Jr. fits into that perfectly, but his competitiveness, his ability to impact basketball games, his desire to win, the fact that he's not outrageously expensive, and that the Heat are obviously missing some things. They did not make the push they wanted in the postseason. I really like Bobby Portis Jr. in Miami, and that's the place that I would send him to. What's going to be interesting for him is how much he covets winning versus how much he covets money. Obviously, he's leaving, if he leaves Milwaukee, a situation where you have a really good chance to be excellent. But I think the Heat culture and what they have in place already would be a great fit for him. I would put him there if he's asking my advice.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.